While I've always enjoyed racing games, my preferences tend to lead towards arcade, kart, or futuristic racers. Some of the biggest gaps in my experience with this genre are driving simulators and the Gran Turismo series. While I briefly touched one of the games on the PlayStation 2 for an evening when I was 13, I remember my first impressions of thinking it wasn't very fun. But much about my tastes and understanding of racing games have changed since then, and I wanted to finally give that game, and the series, a fair chance, and experience the game for what it is instead of what I thought it should be. That game was Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec by Polyphony Digital, and upon playing the game with this new perspective, I finally realized the appeal of these games, and that I also enjoy them. So with introductions out of the way, this is Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec, a driving simulator ahead of its time. Gran Turismo 3 is all about racing in a wide variety of real-world cars with realistic physics and handling, and proving yourself on tracks designed to challenge your driving mastery. I for the longest time thought that with Gran Turismo's accolades for achieving realistic driving on a home console, that the simple act of racing would be too intimidating to just pick up and play. But after some control adjustments and a few races, it turns out I had very little to worry about, and I was starting to have the kind of fun where minutes quickly turn into hours. A game like this is probably a blast with steering wheel and pedal controllers, but I was able to drive just fine with the DualShock 2, and could feel how responsive the steering was with just a subtle tilt of the analog stick, or the difference between holding down the gas and brake buttons, or lightly feathering them as I took corners. You're also able to take advantage of other racing techniques like drafting and drifting. The game's tracks are a mix of international race courses that include open field raceways, city street circuits, forest roads, and rally trails. Most are fictional creations unique to the series, but a few are faithful reproductions of real-world courses like the Laguna Seca Raceway and Circuit de Monaco. Each will test your racing skills with their varying turn angles and changes in road elevation, which will take some practice and memorization to navigate each sector without losing too much speed, and will also extend to your understanding of how each car works. Some keep things simple, like the oval-shaped courses that will let you maintain your top speed longer, but require finding the perfect entry and exit angles on the banked turns to avoid slowing down too much. Others feature multiple series of complex turns that must be respected, and knowing which ones require simply letting off the throttle and which to hit the brakes making all the difference. The rally courses are a completely different ordeal, as the difference between driving on tarmac and dirt or sand is very noticeable, requiring more subtle steering to avoid spinning out on tighter curves. The fictional tracks also have reverse variants, and there's a pair of tracks that feature wet roads, both of which will require new navigation strategies. While you'll naturally want to keep your eyes on the road, you'd be forgiven if they wanted to appreciate the background scenery, because there's a lot of it to look at. Whether it's being surrounded by a canopy of trees as sunlight peeks through the foliage, speeding through a long straightaway with the sun setting on the horizon, or a city at dusk with street lamps lighting the way forward. With such challenging courses taking place in equally beautiful environments, it's never a dull moment out on the track. To call this game's car selection merely a selection feels like an understatement. Compendium may be a better word. There are over 180 cars to choose from, coming from a vast range of manufacturers across the world. While I thought that number was staggering on its own, it's much smaller than the car count from its predecessor, as Gran Turismo 2 included over 600. However, one quick glimpse at that game's car models compared to those here, and you can clearly see why. The increased polygon count and level of detail in each car showed that quality took priority over quantity when making the jump to PlayStation 2. While I'm not too knowledgeable in which cars would consist for a great representation of the world's most popular models of the time, I think that aside from the lack of any Lamborghinis, Porsches, or Ferraris, any big name you could think of that made cars in the late 90s and early 2000s is in this game. The variety ranges from consumer models like the Mazda Miata, Volkswagen Beetle, PT Cruiser, and Honda Civic Type R, to racetrack rarity variants like the 2000 Corvette C5R, Nissan Skyline, and Dodge Viper GTS, and rally car versions like the Subaru Impreza, Mitsubishi Lancer, and Toyota Corolla. No two cars drive the same, as their feel is determined by factors like their horsepower, drivetrain, and weight. Most cars also come with a choice of paint colors when applicable, including the official name of each color. Each car is categorized into a performance class ranging from C to S, and a separate class for rally cars. Naturally, the higher the class, the faster the car, but the harder it will be to keep the car under control without slowing down too much. You have the option to drive any car with either automatic or manual transmission, and on every car class safe for rally, you can also choose between a standard driving style or an alternative one meant for drifting. Alongside getting to drive all these cool cars, you can also learn a little bit about them. When selecting a car to drive or shopping for new ones, you'll be treated to brief captions describing the car's production history, physical specifications, performance metrics, and any interesting feats they were a part of. If you love cars, you'll appreciate how much care went into meticulously representing each and every one of them here. Maybe it's just been a while since I looked at games from the early 2000s, but I was constantly blown away with how well this game is held up graphically. That's the sign of high quality models, textures, and lighting. It's also amazing to see a game that looks this good with its level of detail run so well without any noticeable frame drops. When I'm driving a supercar that's hitting speeds over 150 miles per hour, it looks and feels like you're going that fast in game. While the moment-to-moment gameplay looks amazing, the replays look just as stellar. The camera work from every angle can make the game look like you're watching an actual race on TV at times, or if you choose to sync the camera with the background music, a motorsports highlight reel. And speaking of details, while I could praise how good the cars and tracks look all day, I would also have to do the same for this game's menu designs. They're just so exciting to look at with game footage playing in the background, scrolling flavor text containing everything from track names to staff credits, and logo and menu options of varying shapes, sizes, and colors. What complements this game's visual presentation are its music tracks. When navigating through menus, you're treated to jazzy or lounge-style jams that will often keep you on a certain screen for a lot longer than necessary. During a race, you'll mostly be listening to licensed rock songs, with a few electronic and rap tracks added to the mix, including an original beat by Snoop Dogg. But there are also a few original electronic rock compositions that fit right in. They may also sound like songs found in a certain futuristic racing title that the composer worked on a few years later. If you're just looking to get straight to racing, there's Arcade Mode. Single Race lets you choose any track and car you have unlocked, and race against 5 other cars in track races, or one-on-one duels for rally cars. The available tracks are separated into 6 areas, and getting first in every race in an area on any difficulty unlocks the next one with more tracks. Winning on normal or hard in each area unlocks more cars. Playing all the races on normal has been challenging enough, where you can get away with a few scrapes against the wall, or understeering or going off course on some corners, but slowing down too much in some of the harder turns can be the difference between first and second place. I also wasn't afraid to play a little rough with the AR to counter their relentless attempts to catch up and rubber band past me. Time trials are challenges where you must finish lap in a predetermined car and track selection and beat the top 3 records. The race begins with a rolling start, so be prepared to figure out how a potentially new car works from the very beginning. The more traditional time trial is found in Free Run, where you have full choice over the track and car selection and beat your own personal best times. There are also a few special multiplayer options. The first is the ability to race with a full field of 6 players via LAN connection in iLink battle. The second is that while you can't just play with the standard cars you have unlocked for 2-player local split screen, you can also load a garage from a second memory card, so both players can race with their personally modified cars, which are primarily driven in simulation mode. The main career is found in simulation mode, known as Gran Turismo mode in other regions. You start with a limited amount of money to purchase a car, and you'll work your way through leagues of various races at a time, each with their own set of rules and restrictions, but beyond that allows for progression in an open-ended order. Each league is divided into multiple themed cups which contain a series of races, and finishing each race earns you prize money, the higher positions netting higher payouts. Getting first in every race in some cups will also give you prize cars, which you can either keep in your garage or sell them for extra money. You spend money to either upgrade your current cars or buy better ones to win more difficult races. Before any race begins, you have the option to qualify for a better position on the starting grid, so you don't have to fight your way up the pack from last place every time. Speaking of qualifying, to gain access to some cups and more advanced leagues, you'll have to earn licenses at the License Center, which are a series of challenges with a given car to clear driving objectives. These range from braking and stopping after driving 1,000 meters, or navigating sections of a track in a certain amount of time. Clearing challenges will give you bronze, silver, or gold medals, and earning medals on every test grants you a new license. By getting a good start off the line and some practice, you'll be hearing that gold medal fanfare soon enough. Like I mentioned earlier, the more races you win, the more money you'll earn to either upgrade cars at the tune shop or purchase more at the car dealer. As it can take some time to save up enough for another car, upgrading your current ride is necessary to remain competitive in the meantime. You can make enhancements to everything, from the choices of tires, suspension, and brakes, to even the engine intake system and more lightweight parts. These upgrades affect every aspect of how the car drives, from improving its maximum horsepower, to the responsiveness when shifting gears, steering, and braking. When you're struggling to win races, some new parts can make a huge difference, and you can truly feel how different your car feels as you make modifications. Every car has its limits though, so once you've acquired enough money for a better car, you can continue on with it to work towards more victories, and start upgrading it to keep up with the increased competition. Both methods are necessary for winning races with higher payouts, and making the grind for more money much more lucrative. Taking care of your cars matters as well, which is done at GT Auto, where you can wash your car and change its wheels, though both are purely cosmetic. But changing the oil as the car racks up mileage will help maintain its horsepower efficiency. To get a more detailed evaluation of your car's capabilities, the machine test challenges and analyze option after time trials or license exams will provide data on how the car performed throughout each sector of the track, which can also be compared against a save replay with another car on the same track. As you can see, I've only scratched the surface of what this game has to offer. There's a lot more that I haven't gotten to experience yet, like some of the advanced leagues that include long-term endurance races which require pit stop strategies, and all the prize cars that come with winning them. It's going to be a long journey, but one that I will gladly keep the game disc in my PlayStation 2 until I eventually make it to the end. If my time with Gran Turismo 3 has imparted any words of wisdom to me, they're that it's never too late to give some things a second chance. You might be surprised with how much you'll enjoy them. Getting to live the dream of driving a bunch of cool cars vicariously in game form is nothing new to me, but the added touches of stylish presentation, visually and technically interesting track environments, and reverence for every single car made this game an experience worth checking out. I may be almost 21 years late to the party, but better late than never, because I now truly understand why Gran Turismo 3 is held in such high regard as one of the greatest racing games of all time. As always, this has been fun, and I'm already looking forward to covering another amazing racing game, so I hope you'll check out what I've got in store for next time, and thank you for watching.